Today I would love to talk to you about rescue dogs and common mistakes people make when adopting a new rescue. And as a dog trainer, I see this happening a lot, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to make a video about it. So the first one I think is really detrimental to success with your rescue dog and your expectations is believing everything the rescue has to say to you. I'm just going to say it off the bat. Don't believe it. Don't believe the story they told you. Don't believe anything, because most of the time it's either incorrect or it's not complete, or it doesn't apply to all situations. So what do I mean? I mean that rescues like to tell a story to make a dog seem more adoptable, and you need to take that at face value. You need to be able to see through the story and realize that probably not everything about that is real. And unfortunately, I think a lot of people are unable to do that or unaware they need to do that, because I see it all the time. For example, the dog is great with cats. How many dogs have I worked with that ended up in a cat household and are not great with cats or were never tested with cats? This dog is great with kids. That is way too global. You need to ask questions about that. Like, what kind of kids is this dog good with? Is it toddlers or is it teenagers? That is a giant difference. Kids is not just everything. Like, some dogs are good with older kids but not with younger kids. And if you are on the fence of adopting a dog and you have young kids and it says dog is great with kids, make sure you ask that, but also make sure to ask, so how are these kids in this dog's life? Because there's a whole big massive difference between your dog having to live with kids 24/7 or just seeing kids on the playground and being okay with that. And I think often rescues aren't upfront enough about that because they want the dog to be adopted out. But to me, that is setting up the dog and the family up to fail, because what happens is you adopt the dog was supposed to be good with kids, now it isn't, so you have to send it back to the rescue. So everyone is unhappy in that situation. Another really good, often that I get heaps, is especially for puppies, that they come potty trained. I can tell you now, if you're adopting a 12-week-old or a 10-week-old puppy from a rescue and it says potty trained, do not believe it. It is not true. That puppy is going to pee and poo in your house 100%, at least once, okay? Reasons, again, you need to dig deeper in there. Where does this puppy live at the moment? Are they using puppy pads? Is the puppy pad trained? Or do they mainly stay outside during the day? Like, what kind of life is this puppy living right now that they might say it's potty trained, right? I see this all the time. Like, I come to clients with rescue pups and they're like, oh, the rescue told me it was potty trained and now I have to get up every night to let it out during the night. Yes, well, that's something you have to do with puppies. And I think, again, that's another one. Like, why do people need to lie about that? Or, I mean, yeah, I'm going to say it. I think it's lying. And then one for older dogs I see happen a lot is where rescues say that their recall is great. I think that's a really, really risky one, because the recall might be great for the foster who has had him for 9 months or whatever, right? Or the foster might have 4 other dogs and you find that, oh, the dog is coming back quite well because it's coming with the whole pack. But you will see that if you have this dog by yourself and you let it off the leash on day 2, the dog is probably gonna freaking gap it. Like, how often do you see a post like, oh, I just rescued this dog and he decided to run off and he doesn't know me that well. But the rescue said he has great recall. Well, that's unfortunately not how it works. Also want to say that it isn't necessarily lie. The recall might be good with the rescue people or the foster carer or whoever has that dog right now, the old owner. But recall doesn't just like transfer. That it's like, okay, now you're my dog and now you're this dog. Here's all the skills that go with that. That's not how it works. Like, you need to build a relationship with the dog. You need to let them know, hey, it's worth it coming back to me. At the beginning, you were just a random stranger to this dog, right? So why would they come back to you? Or maybe the person that had him before uses lots of treats or is really excited, and you're more of a timid person where you go like, come, and the dog is like, nah, I'm not doing that for this. Or maybe you live in an area that has lots of squirrels or rabbits, and they only practice their dog in a basic field of grass where there was no massive distractions, right? So again, take that at face value, because I see way too many incidents where the recall isn't actually that good and the dog just gaps it. All right, that's my first one, that I think if you look at the advertisement for that dog, take everything with a grain of salt. Because in the end, the rescue's goal is to adopt dogs out. And if they're too honest, dogs will not be adopted. The second thing I think is a huge mistake dog owners, especially rescue dog owners, make is believing the sob story of the rescue dog. Again, the amount of times that I have had people tell me, oh, my dog doesn't like men because the rescue said it was kicked by men. Or my dog hates blah, blah, blah because he was abused. Or my dog, whatever awful thing might have happened to this dog. Now, I'm not saying it didn't happen, but the percentage of dogs that obviously, clearly got insanely abused seems to be awfully high, at least here in New Zealand. I'm not talking about other countries. And again, it is much easier to play on people's emotions and make them feel bad than saying the true thing, right? To just be like, well, this dog wasn't wanted anymore because the family decided to move overseas, right? Like, that is way less heart-wrenching than having to adopt a dog that was chained for its whole life and kicked by the owner every day he went to work. And again, I'm not saying that it isn't true for some dogs, but if you hang into that story, what happens a lot is that people give the dog everything, right? Because they're like, oh my God, he came from such a bad situation. I feel so bad, so I'm gonna love on him so much, and I won't set any rules or boundaries because he came from such a horrible place. I need to make sure this dog feels so good and is so happy now that we make the whole rescue this dog's identity, and that's damaging your dog. So let's look at foster kids, for example. Foster kids often come out of horrible abusive situations, right? Not all of them, but a lot of them. And when they get into a foster family, if it's a good one, they will set rules and boundaries for the kids that they need to follow. You know, they will be like, okay, I need you to do these chores, and you get then pocket money and blah, 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 you know, how kids are raised. If you get a dog to the foster family, and then the foster family goes, oh my God, I feel so bad for you. You can do whatever you like because of the bad situation you come from. You create a fucking monster. And this is the same with dogs. The dog lives in the present. Sure, dogs have trauma. I'm not denying that. And I'm not saying that we should ignore trauma. We need to work with that, especially if it's impacting day-to-day life. But to just go like, oh, my dog is a rescue, so I don't want to do this because I feel bad for him. You are not doing your dogs any favors if you do that. Yeah, you need to set those rules and boundaries to your dog to help them out and to make sure that they understand the boundaries and the confines that they live in so they can freaking thrive in life and never need to be rehomed again. Because giving too much freedom leads to problem behaviors. Problem behaviors lead to rehoming. Yeah, and we don't want more rehoming. We want the dog to stay forever in your house. And then I also want to say that your dog's identity isn't just a rescue dog, right? Like, your dog is your fucking dog. He is awesome for who he is because he's the best cuddler, or he is so funny, and he is just, whatever your dog is. Your dog doesn't need to always be reminded that he came from a shitty situation or he was rehomed, especially not if you have the dog for years. And again, I get emails all the time from people that will say something along the lines like, oh, this is my 5-year-old dog. He's a rescue. I got him when he was 12 weeks old. Man, that dog is barely a rescue. He lived with you for 5 years, and only 12 weeks of his life was he a rescue. Yeah, and for some dogs, especially here, when we have a lot of puppies here that are from a rescue, they just have puppies all the time. And they often are born in the foster family and then stay with the foster until they're like 10, 12 weeks, and then they go to their families. Like, to me, that is not even a rescue dog anymore. To me, that's just a dog that was born and then raised for those 8, 10, 12 weeks, just like it would be at a breeder, right? Like, yeah, the mama might be a proper rescue dog, but the puppies are barely a rescue dog. Or if you have a dog and you adopted it when it was 1.5 from the pound, and now it's 7, why do we always have to go back to, oh, but my dog is a rescue dog? Like, he lived with you for 6 years. He lived with you an amazing life for 6 years. Is your dog really still a rescue dog? Or do we say that because it makes us feel good? So I think hanging in that whole rescue thing is just going to put the dog down, and you're not reaching full potential because you're always going back to, oh, but he's so sad. I'm like, fuck it. He's not sad. He lives an awesome life. Now let's reach the next level of what he can do instead of keeping them small. And then the last one is kind of the opposite of what we just did. So there's either people that go, oh my God, he's so sad for the rest of this dog's life, or there's people that get the dog and they go way too hard. They overwhelm it from the start. There could be too much freedom, going like to 12 family outings in 7 days. It could be expecting the dog to listen to every single command. It's like, it's not gonna happen. Your dog needs to settle in. You often see that the dog, the first week or so, is super well behaved, and then suddenly the problems start to trickle in. And that is completely normal. Reason for that is because your dog is starting to feel comfortable and is able to start being itself, right? At the beginning, the dog is like, oh my God, where am I? What is going on? I better just like watch and see what happens. And then we're like overwhelming them because, oh my God, he's so amazing. And then a few weeks later, everything just goes down. And you're like, what the hell? What is wrong with this dog? He was so amazing and now he isn't. Well, that's completely normal. Because you've overwhelmed him a little bit. You've flooded him with new experiences. And I know you all mean it well. I'm not like hating on you for doing it. I think it's just, a happiness that you got a dog and you want to involve them. But it's very, very normal for them to then go a little bit downhill afterwards. So those are my tips for new rescue dogs that I think really help with seeing your dog in the right perspective and setting them up for amazing success, to never be rehomed again, and to live the best life with you. I'd love to know what you think of what I had to say. I know some of these views are a little bit controversial, but yeah, let me know in the comments if you agree, if you disagree. How did you treat your rescue dog when you got your dog all brand new? And yeah, I'll see you next time.